What's going on? It's the RapNerd, and I'm here today to talk about The Flash. It's a spoiler review. If you have not seen it, please exit. But based off of the box office numbers and the way this thing's tracking, if you wanted to see it, you already have. So again, this is a spoiler review / talk about the Flash movie, and I'm gonna also hint on the future of the DCEU and the DCU, just kind of where I'm at with it and what I think is gonna happen. So if you saw my review, I said that I really enjoyed it. It was entertaining, had a lot of heart, emotion, and all of that. And the reason why I didn't say I love it, and if you watch my channel, if I'm really over the moon about something, I say that I love the movie. But the third act just did not work out for me, and I couldn't really mention what those things were in my initial review because there were spoilers. But man, that third act, I can say that I borderline hate everything in the third act. I don't like it at all, honestly, and I'll get into that. So before I get there, I guess I'll go through everything that I did like. So the first two acts, thoroughly enjoyed it. It was delightful, it was heartfelt, it had some humor, some goofy, some not, but for the most part, it worked for me. Ezra's performance is excellent in every aspect in this film, and he's the sole reason this movie works. You know what I'm saying? If it were anybody else, I don't think this movie would work. And I actually like Ezra's style of humor. In Justice League, he had me cracking up. Zack Snyder's Justice League, just for those who don't know. So I really enjoyed the first two acts. I like how the movie starts with Alfred, excuse me, calling Barry about something going wrong, and he's trying to get him to help out. And the next thing you know, Batman patches him in, and he's, Barry's kind of like, no, I don't want to talk to Batman. I got to do this and da. And the opening is just this action-packed Justice League, just doing their thing. And you get to see everybody. Even Superman gets a little CGI cameo, stopping a volcano. Wonder Woman is somewhere else. Barry's doing his thing, trying to save babies out of a building. Batman is chasing after some robbers in his motorcycle. All of these scenes are dope, man. And I saw Andy say, the VFX are kind of wonky because we're seeing things in the Speed Force, and I actually can understand that, especially in the beginning with the CGI babies and that kind of thing. I get that part. I fully see what he's saying, but that doesn't excuse VFX in other areas, which I will get to soon. But I love how they utilized that. I really enjoyed that. It kind of went the route of kind of X-Men Days of Future Past, so it was cool. And that's kind of like the biggest thing of this movie, right? Like, there was nothing in here that really blew my mind for real, because it was a collection of good stuff that we've seen before, and I think that was one of the things that did hold the movie back. It wasn't anything that was over the top, blowing me away. I can't speak for other people, but I know that's just how I felt. But I did enjoy it. So I really liked Flash. You get to see the new suit. I love how they started Flash's Speed Force, like when he's standing up doing like this, and the girls interrupt him, and then when he finally does run, I like how that looked. Like it kind of just it had us right there along with him running in a way that I haven't really like felt since, like I said, the Quicksilver of the X-Men days. I really thought that they tried to alter that feeling cool, and especially seeing it on an IMAX theater, it was dope as hell. So I like that. I love when they actually finished the mission. Get back to that. Batman. The Batfleck scenes were just amazing. I loved how he was, gliding on the ground and sliding, and that was like pure Ben Affleck Batman energy. Like, especially doing the punches, the kicks, and jumping on top of the truck. Loved it. Didn't like when Wonder Woman showed up. It was cool to see her, and I'm glad it was dope that Wonder Woman helped Batman save the people, or that person. But I didn't like the gag of the lasso. I think it's just revisiting bad territory. It reminded me of Justice League, and that moment just kind of almost tanked that scene. The lasso of truth and having him talking. I didn't find it that funny. And again, going on grounds that I didn't really care for, to be real. I didn't. And then Batfleck's suit was horrible looking, and the way the cowl fit on him, it was just all weird. He was smiling and shit. I didn't get it. At that part, I was like, but I'm glad that when they cut to the next scene, we get to see Barry in his day-to-day life, going to his job and all of this, and he re-meeting up with Iris again. And I love that little, inclusion of like Zack Snyder's J.O., where she was like, I saw you a few years back. I felt like I saw you a few years back, and it's kind of like, if you've never seen Zack's cut, you wouldn't know what they were talking about, but if you've seen it, you know what he means. So, like seeing them connect again. I even like when he meets up with Bruce and speaks to him about, running back in time and saving parents, because he's done it before. He's done it twice. One time when, of course, they battle Steppenwolf. So I really like all of those little Easter egg things of him trying to talk it out, and even Bruce giving him the speech about, our scars make us who we are. I really love that line. Some things aren't meant to be changed. So that was super fire. And once he did run back time, I liked the way they showed, the Speed Force, how he kind of breaks a certain point and he just stops there, and this kind of globe thing forms around him, and he's just jogging in place, and he's able to stop and kind of look at everything, because he's moved so fast that he's really interrupting time. So that's what I like. I really enjoyed how they depicted that. The moments with his mom were built well. You can see the relationship. I think the actress who played his mom was super adorable and really gave that mama feel, which, when did Flash become Latino? That was kind of like surprising. Nobody got upset at that, but I ain't tripping. But I really love those moments shared between Flash and his mom. And when he finally does go back and meets his alter self, not alter self, yeah, pretty much the alter version of himself in that universe. And I like how they bounce off of each other. It made it like a delightful buddy road trip movie in a sense, because it's kind of what they were doing. And Zod comes, we all know the story. Zod comes back, there's no metahumans. He seeks out Michael Keaton, which I thought was dope. I got like nostalgic chills when they pulled up to his crib, and I like when they first showed him still being able to move, but the moves that Michael Keaton did, it still felt like it came from an older man. I don't know how to describe it. Like, he wasn't doing gymnast type flips, and it was just the way they depicted his action. It just made sense to me in that little scene. And I even liked how they showed Michael Keaton being a genius Bruce Wayne, because that's one thing that we never got from any of those movies from back in the day. He just was kind of one note as far as being cool, mysterious, and kind of a detective, not really, but this really showed how smart he was, and actually picking up on the idea of the multiverse. And again, those little moments pumped in there that's full of heart. Him talking to Bruce, just like, why are you trying to save the world? And he's like, this is the one where my mom lives. And the explanation as to why he, can't tell the other Flash what's going on. So much heart, so much emotion there, and just seeing, again, Flash and Flash bouncing off of each other. I just really like that. And boy, when Batman suited up, Michael Keaton's Batman suited up and went to work in that I guess, is it a missile silo? I don't know exactly what would be the name of it, but easily that might be the top 3 Batman fight scenes that I have, period. Because of course, Batfleck Warehouse is number 1, and then I have the Batman Raptors fight with Pattinson in the Raptors at the end of the Batman. That's number 2, and Keaton here, number 3, easily some of the best Batman action fight sequences I've seen ever. So love seeing that, and they get to Kara and break her out, of course. So this is the point here when the movie starts to kind of go downhill for me, and what I didn't want to talk about, because again, I got to get into spoilers. So I like Kara's character. I like how badass she was when she first popped out and was just going off on people. I love that it was a oneer. Even though the VFX were starting to kind of get a little wonky in this area, I still really enjoyed it. When she went to go talk to Zod, but I really liked that how she was able to get Barry's powers back. Like, she kind of carried him up, and the electricity shocked him and brought him back to life. Not only that, but also gave him his powers. Really love that part. But boy, when we get to that third act, it is a VFX CGI mess. It just looked awful. I got taken out immediately for a number of things. So first, I think revisiting Man of Steel was just wrong, because let's be honest, some people don't like Zack Snyder, but say what you will about the guy, he is a visual master. His imagery, his visual CGI, fight sequences, everything has so much detail and texture that it's unbelievable. And for them to go from a city with all this dense texture and everything to go to this bland ass desert, it just was just a knee jerk. I was just like, what? I couldn't help but look at how ugly it was. And you don't have anything here to help hide it. See, at least in the city, and having this super textured background and all these different things going around, you can hide some CGI that may be kind of but even in Man of Steel, CGI is flawless. But here, CGI just looks really bad, and it's on a blank canvas that's just terrible. I don't think they should have revisited Man of Steel another reason, because they just cut the legs from Zod. What made Zod so great in Man of Steel was what he stood for, what he was here to do, what he was here to accomplish, you know, rebuild his world because everybody was lost, track down Clark for the Codex. So here it just felt bland. It was just plain. And I get Korra was the source, but the backstory just is not there. We didn't build the character. We just turned him into a villain. Same with Fior. Same with what is his name? I forgot his. I think his name something. Namek, I believe is his name, but I forgot. But the other big guy, right? And they just were just textbook villains that you don't care about at all, and it's just degrading what was a good villain to just being a challenge here. I didn't like that, you know. I feel like they should have done something more unique, like how the original Flashpoint was. You know how you had Wonder Woman in the mascara fighting, you know, Arthur in Atlantis. You're not saying you had to do that, but I would have felt like you could have just created something different to make the ending more interesting, because it wasn't interesting at all to me, you know. But aside, the VFX are terrible. Like Andy talking about, it's supposed to look this way through Flash's perspective. There is no excuse here, because this was just not in the Flash's perspective, and when he was running, terrible. It looked like the CW. Oh God, this was some of the worst CGI. I was literally in my seat just like, this looks god awful. What the hell is going on? This is terrible. Everybody there looked like they're made of rubber. I don't feel like there was any real person in that scene. Like I feel like everything was just CGI, and they tried to like deep fake the person's face onto the CGI double, and it just looked odd. It did not work at all. The action was so empty and just lackluster that I didn't like the fight between Kara and Zod that much at all, really. Flash, there was one point when he was like looking up, talking to Batman, and it's a close-up on his face, and his face just looks weird, like he's talking and his jaw is extending too much, like extending like a real person couldn't do. So it was just so much of that. It just looked really bad to me. I'm not gonna front. It just took me completely out of it. And you know, I did like the concept of the other Flash trying to run things back and fix it, and not, you know, realizing that some things you can't just fix. You kind of have to just live with it. Really like that, and even the emotion that came with that when they were trapped in the Speed Force and Flash was talking to himself, and again, the villain being, you know, that Barry trapped in time, trying to reloop things and bend time to his will. You know, that was cool, right? But still, even with that, I didn't really care for, you know, it being Barry or whatever. And then the cameos. Who was not a fan of any of them, to be real. The Christopher Reeves and Supergirl one just felt cheap to me. Like they didn't even look real, honestly. Like they looked like holograms. They did, and I was just kind of sitting here like, was the goal to make them look like holograms? Because I don't feel anything. My crowd was hooting and hollering, but I was just like, didn't even say anything. He was just sitting there looking. I'm just like, okay, this is okay. The Nicolas Cage Superman, I don't understand the point of that. He was fighting a spider, just ultra CGI still. It didn't do anything. Like, if you're gonna do cameos, I want to see cameos done with real people, you know? Like how Into the Spider-Verse handled the Prowler in the MCU. It actually was Donald Glover there. It made sense. Here it just felt cheap and just didn't like it. Didn't like it. So we get past that. I really enjoyed Flash going back in time, fixing things, and having the last conversation with his mom. That almost got to me. My eyes were getting watery. Ezra doing a killer job at the performance. Loved it. Put the tomato suit back. Then he's back to his real time, and he's able to save his dad, you know, with the tech that they were working on, and it proved that it wasn't him, which still boggles my mind that Flash went back in time being a criminal science major and didn't even think to try and look at the person who killed his mom. Didn't even look at that. I'm just like, or how Kara's suit was actually inside the pod with him. I'm like, who put that there? And then you have the other Barry just grabs it, not knowing anything about the suit. It just felt really convenient and just like, but whatever. Gets back to this time, and then it's a cameo from George Clooney. Okay, I guess it was cool to see, but it's like we do that just for the sake of a cameo, and his tooth falls out and it cuts to black, and I'm just like, so this is how we're ending the era of DCEU, is a pointless cameo and a tooth falling out. Okay, so I'm in my seat thinking about the whole movie, like, all right, okay, I'm in a mixed bag situation because I didn't like the way this movie ended at all, but I really enjoyed the first 2 acts. Sitting through credits, then we get to the last credit, and it's Barry talking to Aquaman, and they loosely handle what goes on in the future. You know, in all the other universes, Aquaman is the same guy, and it's a casual conversation. Arthur's drunk, and then he just falls into a puddle of water. It just says, "I sit right here, bring me some more beer." This is how we're ending the era of DCEU. Is a drunk Arthur falling into a puddle of water. And dead ass, like, I'm walking to my car just like, I liked it, but what the fuck was that ending? Horrible ending. Horrible ending. Like, I felt disrespected by that. Like, I think I might have felt more disrespected by this ending than the actual Justice League ending. Literally. Like, we had it easy. You could have easily ended it on a heroic, epic moment like the original ending. I think the original ending was supposed to be, it's Keaton that pulls up and Supergirl comes flying down and she's like, we can be a team. That would have been perfect. Even if you don't even do that. Or the other ending with Superman, Henry Cavill Superman showing up along with Gal Gadot and they all meet up for another league shot. But we end with Arthur drunk, falling in a puddle of water. Disrespectful, bro. So that's what I take about, my full take spoiler review on The Flash. Hated the third act. I don't know if that's going to be redeeming. I'm going to watch it again when it's on Blu-ray, because I will buy it, because I did overall enjoy it. The first 2 acts, great. But holy moly, that last act. And the post-credit scenes were even worse, like, Jesus. But it brings me to DCEU, that you've seen the headlines and what this movie is making. DCEU is dead as a doornail. No, excuse me. DCEU is dead as a doorknob. Is it? I fear for Blue Beetle. I don't think it's going to make that much money. I don't think Aquaman's going to make that much money. And I believe this is because of the reboot. I don't think this reboot should have been announced until these movies were ending, and now we're paying for it. I didn't really know how it was going to affect, but when he announced it in January, when Gunn announced it, I was like, this is going to make people not want to go see these films. Shazam, box office bomb. I think The Flash is going to be a box office bomb. Not to mention Ezra's behavior. People are actively saying, fuck this movie. So that's going up against it. Blue Beetle is another B-list, C-list character that nobody knows about, that had no lead up and has no ties with any characters. I think this is going to bomb. I don't think anyone cares about Aquaman anymore. Based off of them nuking the idea of this shared universe being reset anyway. So DCEU is dead. I'm still gonna see the movies just because I'm a fan of these characters, but as far as general audiences, dead on arrival in my opinion. And it makes me think with DCU, I don't know what's gonna happen. I think Gunn's Superman will be fine. I think at minimum it'll do 600 worldwide, but even then, I think this movie Gunn has a really he has a lot on his table, honestly, because he has to make a Superman movie so good that people not only will like it, but they'll buy into it enough that it's going to make them passionate to see what else is out there, because you can't have a universe where Gunn, you're the only person cracking it, everything else is just not getting any type of response and it's getting lackluster box office and all of that. I saw Grace Randolph, she said this thing that she thinks that maybe Gunn isn't the influencer that he thought he was. And that is kind of my sentiment. When they first brought Gunn over for the Suicide Squad, I was like, I think they're betting on Gunn being this big influencer who can bring numbers over to DC, but I don't know if that's true. And honestly, based off of the Suicide Squad, and I get it that it had the double, dual release, but there were other movies that had dual releases and did way better. I mean, and again, there's a whole thing with that. I get that it's a sequel to one of the DC movies a lot of people hated or whatever, but still should have done more than that. Doom did 400 being a dual release, and I don't even think that the Suicide Squad made its complete money back. But that's the only thing that I see going wrong with the DCU, is that Gunn's Superman movie is going to be alright, but I don't know if people are going to give a shit about anything else, because DC is in a terrible state. It is just in a really bad place right now. Ever since 2017 with Justice League, them doing that to it, and then from that point on, the execs just mishandling stuff, because it falls on WB. They've handled DC poorly, cutting Zach off at BVS, making $877, $70 million, which is still a good amount, and nuking Justice League, right? And even with Justice League, it still made $600 million. Then they followed up with Aquaman and made $1 billion, which that point could have been the diving, not the diving board, could have been the catapult to shoot them up to the sky. All you had to do was follow up with another League member movie, like The Flash should have come out right after Aquaman. Then you hit them with another Wonder Woman movie, because I think even 84, had you had followed with The Flash, it still would have been okay. Or what I used to say is Flash movie, or the Superman movie that people have been clamoring for with Henry, Superman movie. Then another League member movie, the Green Lantern that we've never seen. Then you can start introducing the C-list characters. But to go from Aquaman to a slew of C-list characters, it's what made them fail, So DCEU, I'm worried about it. I don't know. I think the gas, I don't know what's going on. I think, you add those things on to the fact that comic book fatigue is a real thing. I don't know what to think. So anyway, that's my spoiler review of The Flash and what I see going forward for DC. I'm going to watch it all because I'm a fan. So this is nothing about me personally. I'm going to show up to all of it and watch all of it, just to be clear. But let me know in the comments what you think about The Flash. What were your favorite moments? What didn't you like? And be kind if you will. We all have opinions, so I always got to put that out there. And if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, thank you. Until next time. Peace. RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy.